Back to Basics, Part 3, the Real and the Imaginary. From within the creativity perspective, creation can ultimately be seen as composed of and arising from energy and consciousness, and in many ways it's simply a dance between these two concepts. Additionally, it has been observed the awareness which lies within our consciousness is multidimensional, and although localized in our body, it can change its perception to perceive another location. To become a conscious creator, the journey of exploration into our creativity routinely required there are two things that need to be remembered as our starting point as to how we normally perceive how our creativity and our perception of creation works. One is to become aware of the energy we experience. The other is how our creative imagination processes and characterizes that energy. Before we proceed, here it needs to be remembered that the focus of this recording is directed at empowering our creativity and our creative imagination and uses the creativity perspective. It is directed at stretching our perceptions about reality. Some of the concepts presented are analogies and serve a pedagogical purpose. One should not assume they are exactly the way creation works, but are effective for our creativity and the exploration of our creativity and of our creations. Although these concepts may be used literally in some situations, you are encouraged to see them symbolically. It needs to be understood, any thought we have from experiencing a flow of energy will have two parts. The thought has a real part and an imaginary part. The real part is a result of the flow of energy that is giving rise to the experience we have and is what we feel in the experience. The feeling is real. This is relatively easy to understand. The imaginary part is our mind's interpretation through its creative imagination of the experience of that flow of energy. Any interpretation of this signal by the brain is an illusion created by the mind. For example, the signal we get from our eyes to our brain when we see the sun rise above the horizon and then set below the horizon is real. We can measure this signal and it is real. Based on our interpretation of what we see, we can say it is true the sun rises and sets. Unfortunately, the sun does not rise or set. The earth rotates. The belief of the sun rising and setting is an illusion. The mind's characterization of the energy into thought is the illusion created by our consciousness by what it thinks and believes and what we call mind. If we have different beliefs, we would characterize the energy differently. Here the questions are, what energy do we sense and how does our mind characterize or interpret what we sense? First, we will talk about energy, followed by discussion of consciousness. Energy is about the movement and flow. We sense that flow, that movement in some way at some level of our being. If there is no flow or movement, there is nothing to sense. As a human being, we normally perceive ourselves sensing through our five senses: seeing, smelling, feeling, hearing, and tasting. All of these involve an interaction with energy in some way. With any of the five senses, the energy goes through a sensor, like the taste buds, the retina of the eye, the olfactory sensor neurons of the smell, the vibrating eardrum, and the sensing of the somatosensory neurons of the skin. In each of these cases, the energy experienced in one of the five senses is converted in some way to a signal, which is a flow of energy to be processed and interpreted by the brain. The energy giving rise to the signal is characterized by the mind's creative imagination into a thought as to what it is experiencing. In situations where one of the five senses perceive the energy, it's easy to understand. Mind is aware of the energy and the apparent source of the energy giving rise to the thought. But there's also a sixth way of sensing, and often we are unaware that we are using the sixth sense. Some of the perceived anomalies about energy and consciousness are related to how the sixth sense itself operates. The sixth sense is about sensing the energy that lies beyond the five senses, and the energy does not go through the normal body sensors of one of the five senses. Rather, it is sensed within our beings and we often feel it. Traditionally, this way of seeing has been associated with psychic and intuitive type abilities. This sixth sense actually gives rise to all the energy-related aspects to our being reported in the wide range of phenomena that can be seen as energetic interactions, such as seeing the future, remote viewing, channeling, spirit guides, conversations with individuals who passed, near-death experiences, past life experiences, experience in other realities, ancestral healing, energy healing, spontaneous healing, the mind-body connection, and any other similar experiences where the individual's perception seems to transcend what we would call the understanding of the traditional human mind. Thoughts that arise from our sixth sense arise from an energy we sense but do not necessarily know its origins. With thoughts that arise from one of our five senses, the source of the energy is usually clear. However, we do not have the clarity of source of energy perceived with our sixth sense. This other way of sensing, the sixth sense, is ultimately tied to our creativity and our creative imagination and understanding how our mindset and belief structure gives rise to the thoughts we have. But the question is what our sixth sense perceives real or just an illusion created by our creative imagination? Energetically, the issue is about the unseen energy and distinguishing between the real and the imaginary. Now, there are radio waves surrounding us. They are unseen and not normally sensed by the human body. Yet, with a properly tuned radio, we can detect the unseen radio waves and hear the broadcast. So we know unseen energies exist that we cannot see or receive. But with the correct receiver, we can detect them and extract the information. As said, people report having a variety of experiences such as seeing the future, remote viewing, channeling, spirit guides, conversations with individuals who passed, near-death experiences, past life experiences, experiences in other realities, ancestral healing, energy healing, spontaneous healing, the mind-body connection, and other experiences where the individual's perception seems to transcend what we would call the understanding of the human mind. Now, it is clear that unseen energies exist. We simply need to look at radio waves. They exist unseen or not seen until we have the proper antenna and device to access them and the information contained within them. Here we have the traditional problem for many. Does one believe an individual is accessing a particular type and kind of energy giving rise to these experiences, or is their creative imagination just creating them more as an illusion based on what they think and believe? Is the individual having these experiences having delusions? However, there is the question, is the individual sensing something which gives rise to the delusion? The question is, are these experiences real or are they just creations of our imagination? Here you have a choice. Either these experiences are totally imaginary or they are real and we just do not understand the mechanism within our own being that allows us to have such experiences. Believe what you wish. It's your choice. The position taken here as a result of the journey of exploration of our creativity is that these experiences are real as viewing the sunrise and the setting of the sun. The question is, how does creation work that they are real? This leads us to the anomalies that exist in understanding of both energy related to what we sense and consciousness, which is the basis of our interpretation. Are they incorrect, inadequate, incomplete, however you wish to see it? Here we explore a different perspective of energy and consciousness to help understand these experiences. Again, our basis is using the creativity perspective to hold our creativity sacred, and one retains the ability and freedom to explore options. But the question is, how does the universe work, and how do we work to create these experiences? From the creativity perspective, it is recommended one sees the individual as accessing different energies that give rise to the experiences the individual reports. The reason for this is creation is seemingly magical enough to give the individual some type and kind of experience that in some way verifies what they think and believe. If one was just imagining something, the energy would not be there to create the experience that verifies what they think and believe. Although the individual may misinterpret the energy they are sensing so as to feel their beliefs has been confirmed, nevertheless they are perceiving an energy. The question is, what do they think and believe that does not allow them to see the reality for what it is? In seeing the individual access an energy to give the experiences they report, one can then see we swim in a sea of unseen energies, all accessible depending on how we focus our attention and awareness. It is these unseen energies that astrology and many spiritual traditions seek to tap into. Yet again, the techniques astrologers use, the movement of the planets and the effect they seem to influence, will always be somewhat inaccurate. This inaccuracy is because the physical means are being used to try and explain the unseen. In physical creation, there is a seemingly unlimited number of frequencies of energies in the electromagnetic spectrum physicists and engineers use every day. Knowing this, it is probably safe to say there are even a greater number of energies in the unseen realm. This is especially true if one realizes the electromagnetic spectrum lies along a line. Now, if you can imagine another line of frequencies perpendicular to the existing line of frequencies, the number of frequencies is infinitely increased. You could say these other frequencies exist in another or other realms of creation. My experience has been many of these and much of what is sensed depends on how we choose to focus our mind and how and what we think and believe. Unseen energies have a strong spillover into the physical realm and can influence and do influence our actions. In many ways, what is attempted to be accessed in astrology or other divination tools is only a small part of the total amount of energy spilling over into the physical realm. The reason why we are sensitive to these unseen energies is that part of our being, the essence of who we are and what we are, lies outside physical creation. We are, in fact, multidimensional beings. This aspect of our being is discussed more in the discussion of our consciousness following this current discussion on energy. A short aside is needed to talk about this spillover effect. One aspect of energy that arises out of quantum mechanics is the wave-particle duality. Here, an energy can exist as a wave or a particle depending on the environment. As a wave, the energy extends through all of creation. It is not limited with boundaries. As a particle, the energy localizes into the particle, but some very small amount of the energy still exists outside the boundaries of the particle. So whether the energy exists as a wave or a particle, the energy will spill over or permeate all the other aspects of creation, including any and all realms of creation. Our awareness has the ability to access any of these realms or tune into our being to sense their energy. However you wish to look at it, the question is, what do we sense? Within the creativity perspective, the body is seen as an energy detector and will pick up all the different energies that allow our awareness to have the physical experience that we do. The body itself can be tuned to pick up different energies by how and what we think and believe. The energy we sense can then generate different thoughts impacting how and what we think and believe. Most of the energies we sense are from within physical creation, but we do sense the energies of entities and aspects of other realms of creation throughout our focus of our attention and awareness. With the correct mindset, we can routinely access these other energies. Normally, we access them through our sixth sense. Our creative life energy is one such energy that spills over from the unseen and which we are intimately aware, for our creative life energy is what gives us life. To better understand the issue of unseen energy, let us look at the creative life energy that is animating our bodies. There is within each of us a creative life energy that animates our life and the ability to make things happen. Since science has been unable to put this creative life energy into a test tube and study it, it will always be a problem for the physical sciences. What exactly is this creative life energy? But if you look carefully, this is true for any energy. We never put any energy into a test tube. What we put in the test tube is something that is storing the energy as potential energy. Energy is about movement, motion, and flow. In the body, energy is experienced as a feeling. It can be said that our creative life energy is not of the physical realm. Rather, it is an energy that transcends the physical, but is expressed in the physical as how we are animating our life. This is further explained in the discussion of the higher self. Our higher self is multidimensional. Our higher self stands between two worlds like a bridge. There is an aspect of our higher self remaining in the unseen, and our body is the physical manifestation of our higher self for the experience it desires to have at this time and place in this shared physical creation. We willingly bind ourselves to the rules of physical creation for what we need to do, embracing most of these rules and suspending some. The concept of the spirit and soul arose to explain this aspect of our being which seems to transcend the physical. But here it needs to be understood there are many other energies, this ability to make things happen in the unseen realms that cannot be effectively measured physically, but we can experience their effects. In essence, at the fundamental level, this creative life energy is the energy that spiritual, mystical, metaphysical, and many esoteric traditions seek to access, if not control. These traditions seek to access in the same way we have accessed electrical or chemical energy in physical creation. It is just they have not been as effective because of what they believe about this energy. What is missed is the human body, and the human being is a creativity machine on a life path. The human body and the human being is a tool to transform this unseen energy into physical experience. It is analogous to the way an electric motor converts electrical energy flowing out of the generating station to be used in our house to run our appliances. We convert this unseen energy beginning through our creative imagination and what it thinks and believes. Unfortunately, our analogies and similes and the like about the energy and awareness do not adequately describe or address these inadequacies at this time.
One example of this is an inadequacy of seeing energy as a wave.
Although extremely effective in many applications, especially physical applications, there appears to be an anomaly in the wave concept that the wave concept does not adequately address. That is, energy and consciousness can be seen as different aspects of the same stuff, giving rise to creation.
So many see consciousness as a wave
when talking about higher and lower frequencies and raising or lowering one's vibration, when in fact what they're really trying to describe is an expanded and freedom of movement within or by their consciousness. Relative to consciousness, it is what creates the illusion aspects of any thought, for it gives rise to our interpretation of what we experience. For example, material objects appear solid to us based upon how our mind normally perceives creation. However, in exploring further, the evidence from quantum mechanics reveals that they are not solid. There is the need for us to explore whether what we think and believe is really true or just our interpretation by our mind in the analogies we are using or the story we are telling. There are 4 aspects of consciousness, all of which can contribute to the illusion mind creates and can be confused with each other when the function of each is unrealized. There is the power and the focus of our intent, of our awareness to become the causal creator. There is the automatic and unconscious ability to characterize our experiences. There is the ability to sense and perceive energy within our being that lies outside the 5 senses, and the mind's interpretation of anything we sense. Here we talk about these 4 aspects of consciousness and the illusion of mind. But before we do, we need to remember and realize everything we experience is subjective, and what we perceive is unique to our perspective. We each are a unique creation. And the point of having any experience, each of us are incredibly unique. No one perceives and experiences creation and the world in which we live as we do. Each individual has a unique perception of creation, and each perception is true, for it is their perception. Each of our perceptions are subjective, and no one can prove or disprove what we are sensing and experiencing. Everything is real to us, and nothing is an illusion till we compare what we experience with others and try to fit it in. Experience based in physical creation is not a problem because we can verify what we and the other are experiencing by the physical experience. But anything non-physical cannot be verified by physical means to see if our interpretation is correct. Relative to the 4 aspects of consciousness, there is the automatic and unconscious ability to characterize our experiences. As was previously said, any thought we have from experiencing a flow of energy will have 2 parts. The thought has a real part and an imaginary part. The real part is a result of the flow of energy that is giving rise to the experience we have, and it is what we feel in the experience. The feeling is real. The auto function is what creates the imaginary part and is our interpretation of the experience of that flow of energy through the illusion of mind created by our consciousness. The illusion of mind is what mind uses all that it has within itself without thinking of how it will characterize the energy. That automatically looks to match the energy we experience with something in our memory that resonates or aligns with what is being experienced. If nothing matches it, it looks for the next best match. Our creative imagination uses what we think, believe, and the experiences we have had in this and previous existences, our current environment, how we have focused our attention and awareness, and our underlying intention, which we hold with some passion, desire, or will to make happen. Each of these aspects influence the characterization of energy into thoughts. By varying one or more of these aspects, we can change the thoughts we generate by a given energy. Our creative imagination looks at all of the information it has and looks for the best fit to match up the energy it experiences. The more the energy is different than anything it has previously experienced, the greater the inaccuracy in the characterization. There is also the issue if the characterization of the energy is based upon accurate information in the person's mind. But the illusion aspect is more about the options in how the energy is characterized. The second part is about the focus and intent of our awareness to become a causal creator and choose to create. To create is to bring something into existence. What is created can lie on a spectrum from bringing an exact copy of something into existence or to bring something new, original, and never previously experienced, and in doing so, become a causal creator. This is by the mind's focus of attention and awareness on something original. It becomes the cause to create a flow of energy that gives rise to the original creation. Here it is important to note that all that exists in the world created by humans in physical creation, whether it be a physical structure, some story, a paradigm, or a belief about creation, any spiritual or religious tradition, any healing modality, all arose initially from a thought in someone's mind and is created by the human mind and its creative imagination. Here it is also important to note that all that is communicated by any human has been filtered by the human mind and is at best a good approximation. One question that can be asked is, can any human comment not be filtered by the human perception? In any case, the mind and its creative imagination is a tremendously powerful and creative force. The question is, are we aware of what our mind is creating, or is our actions on autopilot unaware of how and why we are experiencing what we do? There is the ability to sense and perceive energy within our being that lies outside the five senses. As discussed earlier, perceiving energy through our five senses, we have the awareness of where the energy comes from that we are sensing. However, sensing the energy through our sixth sense introduces our creative imagination, since we are not necessarily aware from where the energy arises that we are sensing. We, as humans, tend to see our awareness fixed as an observer within our being, and we see it as more of a pure frequency and as an aspect of a larger awareness permeating creation. Although the concept of the awareness as a frequency is not the appropriate term, it is the best analogy with which most individuals are comfortable and the best which can be applied at this point in time. However, our awareness is more of a multi-dimensional energy, and having an energy signature or a multi-dimensional frequency signature composed of several different frequencies, as we know and understand the linear term frequency relating to oscillation or cycles per second in our normal human world that describe frequency. Given consciousness arises from awareness, awareness, like energy, can be localized or non-localized. If you wish, you can say awareness is an energy awakened to its own existence or awakened to itself. As such, our awareness can be seen to be localized in the body, but awareness does not reside in the body or the brain, nor does it reside in our mind. What one experiences arises from our consciousness, which in turn arises from our awareness. This awareness seems to have the ability to localize simultaneously in multi-dimensions. It is just we forget this multi-dimensional aspect for the purposes of having a human physical experience, and we are normally not open to it. In any case, there is an energy beyond our physical perception, and we probably will not ever measure it with our physical measurements, but we sense it and we can extract information from it because we are energy beings. We can access it through our awareness, which can be localized or non-localized in this dimension or any other. But our mind does not necessarily have the experience to properly characterize what we may be sensing. As a result, we dismiss things or improperly interpret them. Then we believe our mind is interpreting it correctly when it does not. So this is one of our biggest problems. It is our mind is limited, and until we have the proper experiences, we cannot properly internalize and understand what we sense from the unseen. Now, the energy manifested in physical creation relative to the energies of creation is analogous to the visible light spectrum relative to the entire electromagnetic spectrum. That is, physical creation is sort of like a frequency on a large spectrum of other frequencies. There are other dimensions, and as such, what we experience in physical creation and all of our insights are very limited and very narrow. It is like when we only understood the rainbow and the visible light. When we only understood the rainbow, we didn't understand the infrared and ultraviolet at either end of the spectrum that goes off into infinity in either direction. But as we began to study physical creation and learn the properties of physical creation, we began to expand our ability to detect these other energies. we came up with instrumentation and techniques where we could go to the very high electromagnetic radiation or the very low end of the electromagnetic radiation. Something very similar exists with non-physical energies that we are able to sense. As we develop our consciousness and begin to understand more about consciousness and how consciousness works, we will expand into these other dimensions. These other energies will start to give us experiences that are not physical experiences. Because we're having them through our consciousness and through the other energies of creation, they may be hard to accept. But that is basically what is happening in channeling and spirit guides. So in essence, many are already having interactions with interdimensional beings. It's just a matter of understanding what we are experiencing. When we have the awareness that allows us to see and perceive the interdimensional beings, and we have a mind that has some experience relative to this type of experience, then we can say, yes, this is what they are. Then we will understand how to use them and work with them. So this is really what the process is really all about, learning the true power of our consciousness. We begin to access the energies of creation that lie outside of physical creation. We are slowly coming to understand those as we expand our consciousness. That is really what expanded consciousness is all about. Fourth item is mind's interpretation of anything we sense. As said previously, our creative imagination uses what we think, believe, the experiences we have had in this and previous existences, our current environment, how we have focused our attention and awareness, and our underlying intention, which we hold with some passion, desire, or will to make happen. Each of these aspects influence the characterization of energy into thoughts. By varying one or more of these aspects, we can change the thought which is generated by a given energy. Now, if we look at what our creative imagination uses to characterize what we experience, we can begin to see it is very much centered on what we believe. Our thinking, how we view, or the story we tell about the experiences in our life or any other existence we have, centers on the story we tell about them and is based on what we believe. We have beliefs about our current environment, and how we choose to focus our attention and awareness is based on what we believe, and what we think and feel deserves our focused attention. Any intention we set or hold depends on what we believe. So what we believe becomes essential to our creative imagination. It is important we start looking at the beliefs we hold and decide if they really serve us and support our life to create a life worth living.